up. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. My name is Mira. I oversee demand gen here at Phil, and we are so happy to have you here today. We have a great webinar for you on your guide to building an exceptional telemedicine program for driving access and brand outcomes. A couple of housekeeping items before we get started. We would love to hear your thoughts and answer your questions throughout the conversation. So please use the Q&A box at the bottom of your screen or the chat box and let us know what your feedback is. And then at the end of the webinar, we have time for Q&A. So we'll get to your questions then. Without further ado, let's introduce our speakers today. Ross, would you like to introduce yourself and Prescribery?
Sure. Hi, everybody. It's a pleasure to have you here today for this sort of overview, high-level conversation about a telemedicine program. I'm CEO of Prescribery. We've been building and doing telemedicine for almost, this is our 10th year. And I'm excited to talk about that today, along with the fact that we have a national provider network as part of our software platform that delivers this service. And we provide access to a number of different therapeutics and a number of different prescribing opportunities. So looking forward to this today.
Amazing. And Sahil?
Yeah. Hey, all. Sahil Naik, Chief of Staff at Phil. And for those of you not familiar with Phil, we're a patient access platform focused on getting patients their medications quickly, easily, and affordably, while simultaneously providing manufacturers with a high level of control of a fulfillment channel in a way that can help them optimize gross to net.
Awesome.
Great. And, to quickly cover what we're looking to go over in the next hour here with you guys, really want to dive into a few topics. One, industry research really around why is this important and why should you consider telemed now? The effective blocks of how you set up a program, a telemedicine program and channel that can really get to success. And then, an example of what success looks like. And want to leave good time at the end for a question and answer period for everyone.
Amazing.
So to get us started, Mira, I'll turn it over to you for a quick audience poll.
Yeah, so we thought we'd start the webinar here with just a quick poll to understand what you all are at in your telemedicine journey in terms of if you have one, if you don't. So there's going to be a quick poll on your screen here. Please answer and let us know, and we'll share the results so we can tailor our conversation today to where the audience is at here with telemedicine. Going to give everyone just another 10 seconds here to let us know where you're at, and then Ross and Sahil will share the results and talk through them. All right, we're going to start sharing. Here we go.
Okay. Oh, go ahead, Sahil.
Go ahead, Ross.
It's interesting to see. First of all, thank you all for responding and giving us that feedback about where you are. Some of you have a telemedicine program, I see, and it's working fantastically for you, and that's really good to hear. There are a number of telemedicine programs that are struggling, and I'm hoping that we get to see some feedback from you today about what you're struggling with, as well as those that are having a good time and finding a lot of success with it. So this is great.
Awesome.
Great. And so, a little bit about the why telemedicine, and, sounds like, more than half of you guys are, actively have something in place. But, for those of you, almost 50% that didn't, why consider telemedicine as a channel? Really, it's because this is where patients today are consumers in their everyday lives outside of healthcare. They're looking to get quick, easy, and direct access to what they need, typically via mobile phone or computer. And that's true even among older demographics. And we're seeing that in the data as well, and seeing that, greater than 90% of patients say they want to utilize telemedicine care. And 80% have actually already utilized it at some point. And particularly as we talk about prescription management, it's actually the preferred channel for many patients for managing their refills.
Yeah, and the things that we've learned seem to run contrary to what people would consider the adoption of telemedicine, being more toward the younger generation who wants to do everything from their 3x5 phone in their hand. We found we have some channels that are 45 and 50% of the overall use population being patients over 55, and in one case, one therapeutic 40% is over 65. And that's not necessarily because the therapy itself is geared toward that age group, but that's who seems to be demanding that kind of use. There and in rural areas, which is something that prescribery is very sensitive to, as we try to reach the folks who have limited access to primary care providers and just basic acute care needs in rural communities. So we're really excited to be able to serve that constituency, that patient base. And it's getting easier all the time, right? With the access of 1-2-click patient portal use and very easy, answerable, patient-friendly questions and links to a provider. So we're very, very happy to be in this space in that regard.
Great. And now, thinking through how do you actually set up a program, and I think from our side, and we really break it down into four components and building blocks here. And really, this is understanding your patient's needs specific to your, brand or therapy, making sure you set up those key elements of a program, identifying and overcoming challenges that are common with early and new programs. But then, most importantly, saying once you've got it set up, you're not yet at the finish line. How do you continue to measure and optimize the program over time to continue delivering better results for your program?
So understanding the patient needs are something that most of you who have a product that you want to go to market are probably more experts at than we are. But one of the things that we offer inside these telemedicine platforms, whether it be ours or Phil's or in combination of that integration, is that we can specifically identify who the patients are that your therapy is friendly to from the use standpoint. So the data is readily available, based PHI redacted, of course, based on the demographic and the patient identifying factors. And that's something that hasn't historically been readily available before. And that comes to you by client logins into dashboards that let you see that data. The other things that I think are important once we understand the specific needs of the patient is addressing that patient, not just on the marketing side, but as they flow into the software that allows them to get that contact appointment with a medical provider, the pre-qualification portion of it, the upload of the identification, personal identification, their insurance information, and then making all those things super convenient and easy for the user from their phone. So understanding your patients, understanding how they function is something that we work with you together on in establishing our front end piece of getting them into a funnel for their questions and onboarding. Those things then, for us, work from what we have an inside CRM to keep people on medications, understand what their needs are from that point, and work with Phil in the renewal and refill process for the long-term patient journey.
Yeah, and Ross, I think as these programs are definitely customized based off the brand therapy and the patients that kind of need that telemedicine channel. Really, you still need all the core components of the telemedicine program to get there. And so, there's really four parts of that. And I know, we'll talk through some of those here. But I think it's also important to keep in mind, as we mentioned earlier, with the idea of this being a consumer style channel, that there's a few things that are really important, and we want to make sure, regardless of the components, you're setting up your end-to-end experience in a seamless and consistent way, such that the patient doesn't feel that there are all these different sets of components that aren't the same thing. When you think about what a patient wants when they order something online, they want to know what are they getting, how much it costs, and when they're going to get it. And unfortunately, with how healthcare is set up for us, that's a lot of different players who have to make those contributions. And these are the four, but important to make sure as we talk about them to know these should be interconnected and integrated in a way such that you are delivering a consistent end-to-end experience across all of the components.
I think
yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
Sahil, I think you hit probably on the most important aspect of a successful telemedicine platform channel, and that is the seamless nature from the marketing standpoint of the manufacturer, and then a seamless both from the standpoint of appearance and functionality for the patient to take and click on that link, which is a URL that begins the journey through the telemedicine platform and ends up with a prescription at their door, medication at their door. So the high level components of importance in a telemedicine platform obviously are, when you enter it, it looks like you haven't really made much of a change from where you came from, although legally you have to do that transition and notify the patient that they've moved off of the manufacturer's site into a third-party platform. So the security is important for that data at that point. Once they start filling out questions, they are now a patient, and all that information has to be secure and protected. Most platforms are SOC 2 certified these days in order to deliver that level of security to be able to prescribe medications through the platform. And then you need the next piece, which is the independent provider network. We call ours Beyond MD. It's a nationwide provider network that is firewalled from the telemedicine platform. The providers function and act independently with their own SOAP notes and prescribing tools. And that prescription goes through the integration that we have with Phil in this case, directly into the Phil pharmaceutical software. All of it's very seamless and very transparent to the patient in terms of what's happening, all the way to the point of getting the tracking information from the shipment to when it's shipped back to the patient through their portal.
Yeah, and I think, Ross, to add on a bit on the fulfillment partner side there, for many folks, may question, why is a fulfillment partner necessarily need to be part of this to be successful? And so that integrated approach, consistent experience, is important. And there's also a couple other things I would call out. One, which is you have an ability to see the end-to-end funnel. So from the moment you're doing digital marketing and the demand generation side to, the first dispense and adherence. And so to get access to the data in a way that really shows you that every step along the journey, you really need someone who can provide you that data through a fulfillment channel as well. And that can be a lot of different things, but provides a level of control and optimization that you're able to track and manage for an ongoing success of the program. And I know one thing, like as an example here, maybe to hit on as well as, talk about control, is the importance of the PA process as part of this, particularly for many of the therapies that go through this. And so, while that may not be critical for, say, generics or some early medications where there's really easy access and coverage and low copays available, for other therapies that have requirements or tests that need to be met or tried failed criteria, being able to have that integration between the telemedicine platform, provider network, and a fulfillment partner, such that you're able to drive coverage that makes this a sustainable channel for the manufacturer, as well as lower the patient's copay as much as possible to increase their chances of getting on therapy.
Yeah, so I just want to add one thing that I actually overlooked when we were talking about this, and I may have mentioned it early on, but the importance of the beginning to end integration allows patient management and control at a level that you can't find anywhere else. When the prescription period, it's a 90-day script or a 12-month script, whatever the case may be, the information that is able to be shared, not just with getting a PA done 100% of the time for every script that's written, but when that prescription is beginning to end, being able to, or coming up on its termination or end date, being able to get that patient back in the funnel for a renewal script, being notified in multiple places, from the fulfillment partner to the telemedicine software to the provider, to reschedule that patient in an automated fashion to get that renewal if it's appropriate.
Great. And Ross, maybe you want to tackle the first few challenges, and I'll take the bottom half here.
Sure. A telemedicine strategy component that's very important and often not thought of, again, on the front end of a go-to-market strategy, is that telemedicine is really a third leg, and certainly the second leg of a market strategy that we've discovered over the past few years that creates a synergy between the boots on the ground traditional marketing and the digital marketing piece, to where both are enhanced by each other. In some cases, by as much as 30% more conversion rate of the medication to the patient in the same market, because just a couple of things. I don't want to go too deep here, but patients who are exposed to digital marketing often ask their brick and mortar providers about and for the medication, where that enhances the number of scripts written there. And then once patients are familiar with the digital pathway and they have a script, as many of you know, in 60% of the country, getting a primary care provider appointment for a prescription renewal can I think takes on average 6.5 weeks. Patients these days don't want to wait, so the renewal channel and the revisit channel for telemedicine is a big improvement in terms of getting more scripts written. So the combination of those strategies we found to be the most effective in terms of ROI and increasing market presence for the product. So I don't know where to stop with that conversation, but I'll leave it right there. The right fulfillment partners to support your brands. Obviously, you need to have people who have all the components of credibility, the technology that's necessary, because it's all about speed today. You have to have speed, you have to have competence, and you have to have patient clarity and understanding. These things are critical in order to be effective, and everyone in the market today expects everything online to be just the way Amazon does it, and same day, next day delivery, right? So in the telemedicine delivery piece, the patient needs to be able to click on your marketing piece, get to a provider same day, and know that that prescription is in the hands of the fulfillment partner that same day, being adjudicated with the PA done that same day, and being shipped typically no later than the next day. And that is the sort of functional pieces of a successful telemedicine program in my mind. And then, of course, compliance in our world is a big deal. So from the telemedicine and provider standpoint, the firewalls between what we're doing in the software with onboarding patients, making sure that the independent providers are isolated, and that you as a manufacturer are isolated from those independent providers so that we don't have any undue influence issues. And then there's, of course, the compliance with prescription writing that has to be done in compliant pathways that are all secure in order to make sure none of us are at any risk. We've all spent too many dollars with attorneys and legal opinions getting all this set up properly. We want to follow those in a way that we make sure everybody's covered, and I think we're there today. Sahil, I'll let you pick it up from here.
Yeah, Ross, and I think you definitely hit on all the key challenges typically faced to get a program to get set up and get started. But one thing to probably emphasize is that's not the end of the telemedicine channel journey. And there's a lot you can do once you start getting real data and patients going through the channel that can help you, iterate and learn on what's working, what's not, and continuing to, make sure the patients are getting what they expect out of the entire end-to-end channel. And really making sure you set this up in a way that you can track that via data and metrics, and then using that as a feedback loop is really critical. And that, having that set up at the start can really help you get an early read on the program and, correct anything that may be not aligned or, patients have questions on because it wasn't clear as they went through the journey the first time. And it could really be a never-ending, feedback loop where you're continuing to optimize the program and learn over time. And then, on the seamless end-to-end patient journey, really where this comes into play is, talking about a lot of different players that need to have a very consistent experience. And, we hit on a little bit of that earlier, but, and we can dive into example later, but really looks like how do you have consistent branding from the manufacturer's website through the telemedicine channel, through the fulfillment partner and, the patient's experience. So it does feel, you're looking at, what as an example or corollary could be just Amazon's app, when in reality, you're buying a product hosted by a third-party manufacturer, maybe even shipped by UPS or FedEx, but really all the patient sees and interacts with is clearly the brand that's being represented in a way that, and the physician who's going to be writing it along the way.
Yeah, I'm going to kind of try to meld these last two, the challenges and the optimization, sort of together here in customer acquisition cost, which at the beginning of a telemedicine program, we find on average, and I'm just going to throw a number out there that may be an entirely different from an experience you're facing based on your use case and your product, but typically customer acquisition costs to get them into the funnel to start with the engagement process and through to a conversion is in the $600 per patient range for that initial patient adopting and getting a prescription. Now, where that obviously everybody talks about the lifetime value of that patient, depends again on the use case and the medication. Early on in a telemedicine channel, if you're getting a conversion rate to a prescription in the low to mid 20s, maybe even just under 20%, that's kind of an average that you should expect to see. And if you're not seeing that at the outset, there's probably something wrong with the target audience you're marketing to, not with the audience, but the way that you're targeting them. And then over time, and I'm going to say probably in a 30 to 36 month period, you should begin to be seeing that per occurrence conversion rate run up into the 40. We have a couple nearing 50%. And the reason for that isn't because your marketing necessarily has changed all that much, but because the people who are on your therapy are continuing on your therapy and they're coming back into the channel to renew those prescriptions and stay on that therapy. And that's where the ROI begins to make a tremendous amount of sense to you, is that it's, you have to get the patient onboarded and get them on therapy. But then the most important part is keeping them on therapy. If you have a lower WAC than other products who sometimes can make this journey work with a one-time fill. The other thing that's important is that there's a reason that people have clicked on this advertisement. At that point, they have an interest, and then when they start into the enrollment funnel, start answering the questions that pre-qualify them, and then eventually get to the payment page where they pay for their appointment and move through that process. There's all sorts of reasons that people drop in that process. And one of the things that's important in that channel of where they are is to recover them, pull them back, and get them on therapy, even if it's 6 months later, by virtue of being able to have captured that IP address and working back to them with other offers. The CRM piece inside the platform needs to be continually keeping that patient informed until they decide that they no longer want to hear from you. But that's the process, and it's not a out of the gate huge return on investment success. It takes time, patience, and fine-tuning that target market for new patients and keeping the patients that you have on therapy.
Yeah, and Ross, you mentioned a little bit about getting to ROI there, and I think that's where really the gross to net side metrics listed here come into play. And really, had to boil it down to one metric. It's really looking at the percent of dispenses that are covered by insurance. And that's how manufacturers can make this a sustainable and positive ROI channel in a way that's really being net beneficial to them and to their patients, and able to drive increase in net sales overall. And really, getting to adherence, getting to PA's successes, all of that ties back into that one metric around converting as many patients as possible, getting them the low copay through a covered dispense, such that they're able to stay on therapy because it's more sustainable from them from an economic perspective as a patient as well.
One question that popped up, Sahil, that you might have to help me with here. I can tell you the telemedicine side on someone who's asked about the perspective of patient fulfillment choice and inclusion of retail options for patients receiving prescriptions. Statutorily, as a telemedicine platform and as a provider network, we legally have to offer patients the choice. Now, I will tell you that we are currently running about 96.5% of adherence to the channel that is in place. So in this case, in us working with Phil with a particular product, the patient completes their journey, get their prescription, and the provider tells them where he intends to send the prescription for mail order delivery to their door, and patients then have the choice to select a local pharmacy that they would like to have that prescription delivered to. And there are a couple of problems with that. First of all, we can certainly send that way, and we're required to offer that. However, depending on the therapy and the network that has been set up by the manufacturer to get the pharmacy to the retail level, or the product to the retail level, it may not be an option there. And at that point, we disclose that to them. And we think the way that we disclose that, we're confident fills the need of offering the patient the choice that they've asked for, that explanation. So I wanted to answer that question because this is where it gets kind of important in the adherence compliance category.
Absolutely, Ross. And from what Phil's side would say, we agree it's a compliance requirement to be able to offer choice. And this is where having a fulfillment partner such as a hub, that Phil acts as with a pharmacy network can be of value, where you're going to be able to offer choice because your goal is to get the patient on therapy. And the other thing I would highlight too, as another example of, you mentioned 96% of patients that go through the channel. Phil also does pretty similar in offering patients a choice of transferring to their local pharmacy. But we see 98, 99%, of those across programs as well, who want, you offer the patient a choice of driving to their local pharmacy and picking it up, or now the consumer mindset experience of having it delivered to my door. Most and almost all are in fact choosing to have it delivered to their door and opting into the channel that can enable them to do that. So while it is a requirement to offer it, we see very, very high levels of adherence to channel and selection by the patient to stay in channel.
Yeah.
Great, let's move into a case study.
Sahil, are you going to talk?
I'll let you go ahead and introduce the left-hand side, and I can the metrics.
Specialty Light brand. That's a fairly new term for a lot of people. Specialty, the old traditional specialty pharmacy was the pharmacy that handled very low volume specialty medications for a small group of patients. The specialty pharmacy business, in its wisdom to grow its footprint, has moved into what now is called Specialty Light, which is oftentimes a lot of cash pay products, as well as low WAC products that are easily prescribed, oftentimes just above the prescription requirement threshold, needing a prescription, and they're often high volume. So we service a lot of those types of brands, and one of those brands that we service is the cornerstone of this case study, where the product has a high demand, a high efficacy rate, and an easy, very limited qualification threshold in terms of in circumstances where you would be disqualified because of some existing condition. So that's this kind of product that we're talking about here. We created this program in conjunction with Phil to create easy access, easy enrollment, strong PA support, and full visibility for the client on each patient journey through this process, so that they could continue to manage or participate in managing the way we asked the medical questions, the way we presented them, to get to the point where the medical providers had enough information to be able to prescribe without seeing the patient in person. This program is highly asynchronously used program. We have currently 8 states that we believe we have to do with a synchronous visit phone call, 1 state that we have to do with a video call, all of those things to establish medical care in a compliant fashion in each of those states. And it has been a very successful program. We have created together the abbreviated workflow based on the needs of the majority of patients. So we do have a higher decline rate of patients who we decline therapy for in this channel. But the upside of that is that the balance of the decline rate versus the ease with which patients can get the prescription are measured in a way that optimizes this channel. So we're excited to have this kind of program that we offer, and the things that we have learned from it is part of what we're here to share today for everybody to take advantage of.
Yeah, Ross. And I think in terms of like, how does this case study really put into all the things we've talked about today, are parts of this program in terms of the key components and establishing the data and feedback mechanisms. And that's really what's led to a lot of the metrics you're seeing here on the right-hand side of the screen. It's strong patient engagement once they get through and getting started on therapy. And also because of the integrations between Phil and Prescribery, particularly around prior authorizations, you're getting more shots at goal in PA submissions and PA approvals, in the sense that because you're able to have a strong closed feedback system, you're able to make sure as many PAs are getting submitted as possible. And two, you're also able to understand, when something declines, what's going on, and then how do you make sure that then the telemedicine platform and providers are collecting the right information that can optimize the patient's chance of getting covered by insurance. And as a tactical example here, maybe to talk through, would be seeing that one of the main reasons we saw for our prior authorization denials was around, tried and failed, not getting included in a PA to the level that certain plans were expecting to want to approve the drug. And so by having that identification at a plan level, providing the feedback back through Prescribery to the providers who are submitting the PA, they're able to collect the information during the appointment such that they can input it during the PA and improve the chances that those PAs will be approved. And that's really what's led to the 90% covered dispense rate listed kind of in the bottom right there. And it's also leading to one thing we'll say when you talk about continual optimization, the refill adherence point, listed at 5x versus retail, but this is one we're continuing to see and identify opportunities for partnership to optimize quarter over quarter. And because you have a channel that's really set up here in a way that it's end-to-end, ability to influence the patient journey, from custom copays, adherence messaging, appointment reminders when refills are out. That's really what is translating to that 5x higher refill adherence for patients on this therapy.
Amazing. Thank you both. So that was a really helpful overview of telemedicine, and we have some great questions here from our audience that I want to get into in a second. Just want to first launch a quick poll to ask if anyone wants a follow-up conversation with Phil and Prescribery to learn more. So that should be up on your screen right now. If you are interested, feel free to say yes, and we'll get started in Q&A in just a moment. If you haven't left a question yet, we would love to get your questions and make sure we can have an interactive discussion for Sahil and Ross to answer. They're here and happy to help. So let's go ahead and jump into our first question here. So someone asked, can we add more context about the independent provider network? So when we talk about those building blocks, can we go a little into more depth there?
Yeah, so an independent provider network, and the way telemedicine is done today, has a lot of different methodologies and approaches to it. I think the highest standard is an independent provider network with the software necessary, as we've discussed here, to create the seamless experience, make the data available to the user, and obviously have a simple use patient portal and an integration with fulfillment partner or partners. That type of independent provider network requires a company to have a licensed medical director who's licensed in all 50 states, and then has a variety of different types of medical prescribing providers that work underneath that medical provider, medical director, or combination of medical directors in delivering the different prescription therapies nationwide. Providers obviously have to be licensed, and if you're doing controlled, they need a DEA registration. And we're in the midst now, as many of you probably know, of post-COVID, the DEA developing a national registration so that each provider license doesn't have to have a state DEA license, but can have a national registration with DEA, and for any state that they are licensed in, then be able to prescribe controlled substances. It's critical today that controlled substance be part of a telemedicine platform, and that the certifications that are required to do that are all in place. Each provider that operates on a platform doing online prescribing for telemedicine needs to have a secure access to a secure server, and most platforms get the certification that we're most familiar with, which is the SOC 2 security certification for all data. That is the sort of top of the line provider network service. There are other services that seem to work fine, where independent providers work, like VRBO, where there's a claim board built into the software that a telemedicine platform will post the need for someone to write a prescription in this state for this medication, and there are providers logged in or with login rights to that platform, and they claim that request, and they write that prescription and return it back to the software for distribution of the prescription to whatever pharmacy contracts or integrations that software may have. The problem with that type of independent provider network, it's really a network of independent providers versus an independent provider network. The problem there is the data that comes back from that individual doctor's EHR is typically not able to be redacted for PHI and sent back to the platform for the data that an independent provider network can provide. The other options I think that exist out there that I'm familiar with are platforms that do patient intake, create all the data, ask all the questions, and then send it to another not necessarily integrated but affiliated provider network, where the same thing happens as with the claim board process. I'm familiar with some of those. I don't know how they meet compliance issues for security, but I know they're functioning in many cases apparently okay and legally. So I hopefully that's helpful into the context of the independent provider network. I think the most important piece to know that in either or any of these cases is that everyone has got to be cognizant of the siloed operations of shared information back to you as a telemedicine user. Manufacturer, as we all know, that provider manufacturer silo has to exist with a firewall of information so that the providers are not unduly influenced by any economics on the pharmaceutical side. And the only thing that they're able to really sort of collaborate on are understanding and the education about the medications and the therapies. Hopefully that's helpful.
That was great. Another related question here is, do you have any recommendations for fulfillment for compounded prescriptions?
I have some things to say about that, but that's a pharmacy question first. So I'm going to let Sahil cover that to begin with, and I'll pick up the pieces.
Yeah, Ross, and we'll look to you for the answer here as well. I think in general, you're still looking for a lot of the same components of a fulfillment partner that can enable a compound, maybe more limited, but you want to make sure you're able to get the right data and insights about it as well along the patient journey. So I think in terms of setting up an effective channel, it's still important to have someone who's able to integrate and work with your other partners and different components of the telemedicine platform, even if the fulfillment journey of the actual getting the prescription in the patient's hand may look slightly different.
Yeah, slightly is a generous word, frankly, Sahil. It's a very different industry. We fortunately, with one side of our telemedicine platform, do a tremendous number of compounded prescriptions in the compounded pharmacy space. Candidly, it's a little bit of the Wild West out there. Most compounding pharmacies are small, limited licensed states. We had the luxury of working with one pharmacy that was licensed in all 50 states. They may have been the only one, and they recently had to withdraw their licensing. Compounding often operates at the risk of pharmaceutical companies taking issue with the products that they're compounding. FDA tends to have a number of negative things to say about compounding, and I don't know exactly why that is, because they do serve a vital need. Currently, as you all may or may not be aware, these new and very highly demanded GLP-1 weight loss medications, diabetic medications is their life origin, as you probably know better than I do. Wegovy from Novo Nordisk, that's a semaglutide product, easily compounded, and Novo Nordisk went to market, as you know, severely underestimating what the demand for the product was going to be. So their manufacturing capabilities were less than 10% of the demand. So compounding pharmacies ramped up nationwide at all different levels and began compounding the semaglutide. Eli Lilly came with the tirzepatide Mounjaro product, another peptide compounded, and patented that, and it wasn't available for weight loss, and still isn't. I guess they're coming with a new product shortly that will be a weight loss product, maybe in early 2024. But compounding pharmacies fill this shortage need very well. The problem that most have with them is they provide these products without a lot of research. They rely on the research that's been done by the large pharmaceutical manufacturers, which the pharmaceutical manufacturers often take issue with. And they may not be able to consistently deliver. So fulfillment was the question. It's a challenge, and it's a short-term window for any given product, I guess would be what I would suggest. We have not, in our several years of doing business, we have not had a consistent compounding pharmacy relationship that has lasted more than 2 years, and most less than that, because of the evolving changes. So there's very little stability in that industry, and building a program around a pharmacy and a compounded medication is very challenging compared to building a program around a standard therapy. Is that, Sahil, what do you think? Does that cover that issue? I don't know. It's a complicated one.
Thorough.
Yeah.
It was very thorough. We have lots more questions. So,
Oh, sorry. I probably got long-winded.
No, it's good. I'm sure it's very, very helpful. Next question here, Sahil, probably one for you, is going back to the building blocks. Someone wanted a little bit more depth on the demand gen strategy side of it.
Yeah, no, and I think that's a good question. And it's one that's really, for many manufacturers that haven't done a telemedicine program, is something that's really new. So, traditional channel may be working with sales reps who are going into offices to have conversations with individual prescribers. Whereas really with demand gen for telemed, it's a manufacturer-driven process that's done online via digital marketing for the most part, where you're really looking to compete against ads to advertise to the right population, which you get a higher level of degree of control of doing because you're able to do online targeting. And then drive those patients typically to a website that can then provide more information and set expectations before they click the URL that Ross talked about that gets them started into the telemedicine journey specifically. And so really it's around more like traditional digital marketing on ad management campaigns and converting patients through the funnel to start the telemed journey online.
Fantastic. Another question we have here are there any specific best practices that apply for acute care medications with time to fill sensitivity versus maintenance medications with refills?
I guess that falls on my court because of the prescribing for acuity here, but best practices. Most acute care medications are a one-time deal, right? You have a UTI infection, you have a sore throat issue, you have nausea. Those are typical acute care things that can be managed and addressed online. And most all cases I'm familiar with for those types of care models, because there's not a long-term strategy for those patients. Those are typically we handle in this way anyway, where patients don't have a pathway to a fulfillment partner, specifically like we're talking about with a telemedicine program. We have all pharmacies in our database based on zip code. So if a patient comes in from a 49456 zip code, for example, and they don't have a specific pharmacy that they want us to pull up and send it to, we send it to the pharmacy closest to them for fulfillment. So it's really not a telemedicine strategy. When you talk about best practices, I'm talking about best services for the patient in this case. And I'm not sure I'm answering your question, but the one-time, one-fill medications for a telemedicine platform, probably not economically viable, if that's fair.
Yeah, and Ross, maybe I'll add an example from one of the programs we work with that also have a telemed component for actually, the UTI example you mentioned, where it is an acute need. The telemedicine enables them to quickly get access to care versus waiting, multiple weeks to meet a provider in person, which enables quicker care. And then second, in terms of fulfillment channel, there's really two parts. One is, send it to the patient's local pharmacy. You want to make sure they always have the choice for that, given, they pick it up and if they can get processed right away. But interestingly, when we have a program similar to Setup does that, and we offer the patient a choice of, do you want to go pick this up today from your local pharmacy or have it delivered overnight shipping to you through a fulfillment channel? I think 90% of patients select overnight shipping just to wait till the next day to get it delivered directly to their door. And I think if you do have a fulfillment partner, having control over those business rules, like making sure they're shipping quickly, processing within a certain time frame, given that it's an acute care need, to get that patient on therapy immediately is important. And it's one where if you can't influence those business rules like you could through the Phil platform, it may not be able to meet the needs, as Ross was saying.
Yep, that's helpful. Another question here is, can the telehealth program handle the introduction of a low-cost brand that wants to launch outside of the current payer system? And then the person further clarified and said the product is used episodically to prevent or treat.
To prevent what? I'm not seeing.
Prevent or treat.
Oh, yeah. Prep medications, for example, are very frequently used online, low cost, and many users, recurring scripts. That's the first example that comes to mind for me. But yeah, low cost products that have high volume can be prescribed asynchronously, get to a fulfillment partner for no adjudication necessary, can typically be on a truck the next day in the morning, and they're, within 48 hours easily. Is that fair, Sahil?
Yep, I think so.
Right. A follow-up question to that was, do active military and their families have access to telehealth?
They do. We serve a lot of veterans in telehealth.
Fantastic. Easy one. One more here.
Let me just finish that. The question often comes up legislatively, right? Where someone is at a military base overseas, and can they use telehealth? The answer is yes. Telehealth is restricted to the United States licensing for all telehealth and cannot be shipped out of the states with the exception of military bases, which are considered U.S. Property outside of the United States. So that's probably a more complete answer to that question if you got somebody who's stationed in Germany, for example.
Yeah, that's a great clarification. All right, one question here and then we'll wrap up. Do you share APIs to help with billing, reimbursement, and RevOps?
As a telehealth platform, yes, we have an open API and everything can be integrated relatively easily. The software development piece for the integration and building the API is very easy with an open API. And that's why we're able to integrate so easily with Phil, for example.
Yep, and Phil, on our end as well, we're integrating through API with Prescribery, but also with other channels that are helping with billing and reimbursement across a pharmacy network and other parts as well for prescription reimbursement.